Hey everybody, welcome back to Slingin Dirt TV. We got another great show for you today. We're going to be talking about newbies into the sport of racing. Kind of like Jack Crawl here.
Yep, I'm so new, I'm cleaned and pressed. And we also got Trey and Ava Gra, the dynamic child prodigy duo sprint car racers.
You got to, now I did the interview, you couldn't be there for that one, but you got to watch the interview a little bit, and boy, you are in for a treat watching Trey and Ava. There's nothing boring about these two kids.
Nope.
We got Tech Tip. We're going to be talking receivers and a little bit of safety.
Yep, and then we always got the illustrious
Songer Says. And then, of course, we got Fan of the Week. So stay tuned. We'll be right back at Slingin Dirt TV. Hey everybody, welcome back to Slingin Dirt TV. That's right, we got the world's slowest B-Mod racer, Jack Crawl, and of course myself, Buddy Ray. I'm going to quit giving you crap every week because, now, first of all, we need to let everybody know that the show's a couple weeks out, so I'm not having a good season so far at I-80.
No, you're not, and I am.
No, you made 2 features. I don't even think I made it out of the heat race the first night, and then the second night, we didn't even make it but a lap and a half in the hot laps.
Well, quit jinxing yourself and talking crap.
I'm telling you. So, yeah, I'm going to lay off of you a little bit. We got a good show for you this week, so let's get right to it. We've been talking about this, Jack, newbies into the sport of racing. For those of you, it doesn't matter what class, from sprint car to sport compact. In my opinion, if you're new to the sport, regardless of class, go hang out with people in that class. Even if that means you can't get your car on the track right away because, financially you're strapped or you're just not ready. While you got the downtime during the week, or a weekend comes up and you can't go racing, go hang out with another driver in that class. The amount of stuff that you can learn about your class of car is invaluable. And it's free, other than your pit pass.
And the thing is, too, is, you, as a new driver, even pre-new driver, you're thinking about becoming a race car driver. Do your research of what you want to do and what you can afford. There's nothing more disheartening than going out with a bunch of newbies on the track. You really don't know who the newbies are, unless, you know who the guys at Race Weekly are. But newbies come out on the track, they've got their Superman cape on, and then they take out half the field, and people get upset just because their car's not set right, or they don't know exactly what they're doing, they didn't go to practice, and then they don't have enough money to fix the car when they're done, and then you never see them again. And that's disheartening. You really got to do your research, learn what you're going to be doing, talk to guys that do it, and learn from them even before you strap into a car.
And we're not trying to put ourselves on a pedestal by no means whatsoever.
We were all newbies at one time.
This is my 23rd year of racing, and I'm still going back to the very basics, asking, what do you guys, setting your ride heights at, or what do you guys think of these percentages? You never know everything in the sport.
No, and the technology changes all the time. It doesn't matter how old the car or what type of car it is. God, you see these, hobby stocks and even sport compacts, the technology, the cars may be the same, but the technology that they're using within the rules is changing those cars up.
All the time.
You can never learn too much.
And then when you take an experienced driver, and I'm not saying myself, you take an experienced driver and you don't want to listen, or let me rephrase that. You take an experienced driver who's willing to help the newbies. Now I'm going to be speaking from personal experience. As an experienced driver myself, I've tried to help newbies that have gotten into the sport, but they always come up with an excuse as to why they can't work on the car, while they're not crewing on a car, they're not hanging around that class. They're over here going to a different style of car when they could be using that time to learn some stuff about their chassis. And then when guys like you and I want to go help them, they're like, what's what? How do you do that? And you're like, well, you've had the car for months and months and months, if not, a year.
There are some that are out there, been running for years and don't know the first thing about how to set a car up, or, even just to change a shock absorber or something like that.
And we're not knocking the newbies, because I know when you were in the sport mods, you probably ran for the first few months, but you didn't have a lot of the setup tools. You know, and then you came and asked me, and I helped you. But
Right.
you had a working understanding, a working knowledge of how, you know, bar angles and stuff like that. But when you see somebody come up to you and go, Jack, can you help me do this? You can help me do that. And then you're like, well, what's your percentages at? I don't know. What's your stagger at? What's stagger? Well, have you worked on a car before? No, but I go out to this racetrack and I help this guy on a totally different car. And you're like, why? You're not even applying yourself.
And here's one word of advice I will give to newbies. It's okay to get information from multiple sources, but you got to understand in racing, what I tell you, what Buddy may tell you, maybe two different opinions of what you should be doing. You always have to consider hanging out with one person and taking that one person's advice and trying it until it doesn't work for you, and then maybe ask, you know, somebody different, okay, my car's doing this, what would you do? And the thing that drives me nuts is watching newbies, the ones that are just the opposite of not knowing anything, the ones that think they know everything, and you walk through the pit, the car's up on 4 jack stands, there's parts and pieces laying everywhere, and they're changing 15 settings at a time thinking that that's going to make them faster, and it may, but it may make them worse, and you never knew what you did to help.
Oh, yeah, you could have said that better. You change one bar angle, you change a spring, just changing, you know, 2 or 3 pounds of air pressure, the car that you had on the scales or the setup that you had in your garage is now, the car's different. It's a totally different car. It's going to drive a little bit different. I don't care what anybody says. I'm a firm believer in that. I was told a long time ago by a veteran driver, instead of talking to 50 different people and getting 50 different ideas, you know, and pulling you 50 different ways, think about this. If you want to run 10th, go talk to the 10th place car. You want to go run 5th, go talk to the 5th place car.
Very true.
But know for a fact that the higher you get in the feature finish,
the less information
you're going to get.
They get tight-lipped. They might give you general information, but unless you know, I was fortunate when I started out in the sport mods. You know, of course, you and I hooked up, and you helped me get the car scaled. I didn't own a set of scales. You know, I was running compacts, they're way different. But I knew the basics of the car and how it worked. I could build my own motors, all that kind of stuff. But I didn't know how everything affected each other than what I read in the book.
Well, that very first scaling session that we did on your car, we were actually, in fact, I was teasing you. I was like, watch this. I'm going to put my setup on your car, and you're going to go out and you're going to kick my butt. And what'd you do?
I kicked your butt.
You went out there. You actually, you won that, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
And you also beat the current, at the time, the current track champion, which even shocked him. I was like, really? Right. And so I think the ongoing joke after that for a while was, I ain't never helping you to set up again.
Yeah, and that was the other person I was going to mention.
But you learned a lot.
Yes, and see, and that was just it. Gary Sadoff, who's a multiple track champion.
Hell of a nice guy.
Nice guy. He also pulled me aside, and he knew that I was trying to be the best that I could be and not take out half the field. You know, not being stupid is another part of learning. Don't put yourself... You can't go out there and just have your hair on fire and think you're going to win every race. You've got to start in the back of the pack, learn how to go fast without people around you.
Yep.
I mean, you don't get that many opportunities to practice. So when you do get to practice, go practice. And then when you get the opportunity to go race, don't be afraid to start in the back of the pack.
A lot of times the veteran drivers will actually give you a little bit more respect because you will start in the back of the pack. Andrew Kaczynski, when I was on the radio show, he had mentioned the first year he raced late models, he was shaking like a leaf. He was scared to death. And so what he did is he went to every late model driver at ID Speedway, and I'll never forget this. He introduced himself, shook their hands, and said, look, I'm new, I'm going to be in the back. If I get into you, it's not intentional. Do you know how much respect he got off of that? Everybody knew right away, okay, watch Andrew, he's new. He might get out of shape.
Right.
And now he's one of the most respected kids in the pits at ID, and he's a hell of a wheelman.
And the other thing it does too is when those guys come around you, they give you room because they know you're trying to learn.
Right. Versus
if they think you're going to take them out, they're just going to shove you up into the wall and go around you on the bottom.
Yeah, the worst thing you can do being a newbie is going out there, like you said, with your Superman cape on, bonsai in the corner, and you go from the very bottom all the way to the very outside, and you take out about 10 cars. That's quickly the fastest way to become the most unpopular driver in the pits.
And then the next time around, those fast guys that are starting in the back because of the way they do their starts, they're going to come up behind you straight rear end. As soon as you get going that corner, they're going to hammer the gas, shove you through the corner, tuck underneath you, and you're stuffed in the wall now with your stuff all tore up. So I guess, you know, being a newbie is one of those things. To sum it all up, is just be smart about what you're doing. Be willing to learn.
Show respect.
Show respect to those drivers, and they'll give you that respect, and they're more willing to give you that top secret information that they may have to help you out.
You and I were talking in the last couple of years. We've helped out a couple drivers, and we've told them, work with just us. Let's work together. You and I share info all the time, all the time. I'm helping another kid, you know, same stuff that we're using.
Yeah, same as me.
You know, with Johnny Bright, and Johnny's getting a lot better. He's learning a lot. He's made strides here in the last month.
Sure, and like Lindsay Tyson, she came up to me and asked for help, which when somebody comes to you and asks for help, it makes you, feel good that you can help out somebody.
It's not stroking our ego, but it makes us feel appreciated. I mean, we've been around for quite a while, but at the same time, even us newbies, or not newbies, I say newbie, but some of us old timers, you know, if we see Joe Blow, who's a newbie, and he's setting the world on fire, because there are drivers out there that just have the God's gift talent to drive. You know, we'll come to you. Hey, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Let's, you know, because like I said, we don't know it all. We're always learning. You know, 23 years.
Sure.
I'm still learning. So, you know, like you said, make sure you show some respect to the older drivers. If you're a newbie and you want to learn about the sport, hook up with an older driver and listen to what they say. Don't do what, you know, Jack was alluding to. Don't listen to 55 different people, because your mind's going to get pulled in 55 different directions, and you're actually going to take away from your racing program. It'll take you a lot longer to get up.
And don't change more than one thing at a time when you go to the track.
So without further ado, we're going to go talk to one of our fine painting sponsors here at Break, and we'll be right back here in Slingin' Dirt.
Hey, this is Ava Gra with the number 5 car, the winner, and you're watching Slingin' Dirt.
Welcome back to Slingin' Dirt TV. I tell you what, we got one hell of an interview here. This is probably, in my opinion...
You got to watch the whole interview, because the end is the funniest.
The end is the funniest. And there's actually quite a few funny parts throughout the whole thing. Hands down, I think, quite possibly, and all of our interviews have been good, but this is by far the most entertaining, I think.
It's pretty good.
Trey and Ava Gra, I tell you what, we're just going to go right into it, and here's Trey and Ava. Hey everybody, welcome back to Slingin' Dirt. It's Buddy Ray. I have got something really cool. We've never done this before back when I was on the front stretch, but now here I am on the Slingin' Dirt. Jack Prawl, he's at home doing whatever with his car. He's not here. So I thought it'd be really cool to come down to Lincoln, Nebraska. We're talking to Ava and Trey Gra, two of the hottest rising young stars in the mini sprint world. I tell you what, you guys, you're 8. You're 11, I'm 40, I drive a B-Mod, and you guys got one of these things. How cool is it to drive these things?
It's pretty cool. You turn into the corners and it feels like it's going down that way, and it feels like you're gonna flip, but it's just the pressure that it's putting on you when you turn.
Trey, you guys went to Atchison, Kansas here a couple weeks ago. Obviously, you've never been in a sprint car. I don't know if I'd know how to drive one of these things. You go out there and you just pop off a win. Did you ever see that coming?
No. I was just trying my hardest to pass the guy, and I finally got him. Well, we messed up my front wing, but we can always fix that.
You can always, you know, nothing major.
Nope.
So, now Ava, with you being 8, you go to school. You got the young boys chasing the girls, you got the young girls chasing the boys, and you're over here. How popular are you getting to, you know, when you go to school, I don't know if you have show and tell. I don't even know if they do show and tell anymore, but, you know, do you get to brag up that you're driving a sprint car nowadays?
I don't really try to brag. but I'm pretty good.
Wow, modesty overflowing here in the Grop household. Just how fun is it for you though? You don't see a lot of 8-year-olds. You know, Trey, you're 11. I've seen 11-year-olds, but I don't think I've ever heard of an 8-year-old driving a sprint car. What's that like?
It's just like other people. It's pretty fun.
Now, was there anybody that inspired you to go into sprint car racing? Was there another sprint car driver you kind of looked up to and said, that's who I want to be when I get older?
Not really.
Not really? Now, how long have you been racing?
4 years.
So half your life. You know, at 8 years old, that's pretty sad. You're considered an old-timer already in the sport. I mean, do you see yourself going farther? Do you want to go into like NASCAR or sprint cars or late models or modifieds?
I want to go into modifieds.
Really? What is it about modifieds?
I've watched you race them before.
Then you ain't missing much.
And they seem pretty cool.
Ah, Trey, what about you?
I want to go into NASCAR racing just because, like, Dale Jr. and Dale Earnhardt, I like both those two drivers the best.
What is it about those two drivers that you like about them?
I don't know. Dale Earnhardt, he just went out there to win, and that's what I want to do.
Well, I tell you what, basically you're 1-0 in your career as a sprint car driver. You plan on keeping it 2-0 and 3-0 and kind of doing that?
Yeah.
Ava, what about you? You have any goals this year? Obviously you want, I know, we've raced. You've taken me off the track before. I still have sheet metal hanging up in my garage. You plan on winning a lot this year, running up front?
Yeah, I'm planning on passing the guys and giving them a taste of my dust.
Wow. Once again, modesty overflowing in the Grop household. Man, you've been so quiet, and she's over here all spitfire, and you're over here winning races. You got some catching up to do. Where are you guys racing at this year?
We're racing all over. We're going to Atchison County. That's one of the tracks we raced at. That's where I got my first win. And we're racing some other places out of Lincoln. And yeah, we're basically going all over.
Going all over. Now, I've talked to your dad, and you know, your dad was telling me on the phone that you guys like to run after the competition. A lot of drivers, depending on whatever class you're in, a modified, a late model, whatever, sometimes guys are just comfortable, or young women are comfortable just racing that one track weekly because it's convenient, it's close, it is what it is. You know, and sometimes when you get into the bigger classes, you can kind of be called somewhat of a chicken because, well, you're not running after the competition. You guys, your dad has kind of taught you to go after the competition to better yourself. Have you really found that to really help you quite a bit?
Yeah, it really helps me like go really fast, and I always remember him saying, "Go get him, girly," and it gives me good luck.
So does he tell you to go get him, girly? No. What's he tell you?
Go get him, boy. Good luck.
Go get him, boy. Good luck.
Yep.
Now, just out of curiosity, you're 11, you're 8. How much sibling rivalry is going on here?
Well, the thing is, I'm like a better racer than him because, I mean, he's pretty slow and I'm like pretty fast.
Says the one that got second.
Says the one who got last.
Okay.
Well,
First.
yeah, he's 1-0 in a sprint car. You know.
Well, it's not my fault. That guy was racing for 3 years. In that.
He's never raced but one night.
Well, those guys didn't have much experience.
I think you're turning the story. I think I'm a better race car driver and not you.
Probably because you've been racing for more years than me.
Matt Grop, this is, wow. I mean, I can only imagine what Monday through Friday's like. Now, with you guys being young, I've talked to your dad. You guys actually get out here. You're not the kids that you come home, you play the Xbox, the PlayStation. You're out here turning wrenches on the cars. You're learning stuff. Do you think that's really helpful at your young age?
Yes.
So what's the biggest speed secret you can give me, Ava?
Nothing.
You're not giving me no speed secrets.
Oh, wide open always.
How about you, Trey?
Well,
You're the one with the trophy here.
Well, she took mine. Mine says it on the car. It's on the other side, always wide open.
Always wide open.
Yep.
Okay.
Now, do you guys, even though you guys have some sibling rivalry going on here, do you guys really help each other a lot in each other's cars, though?
Yeah. Yesterday we went to just clean these tires here, and I helped Trey clean his tires. My dad sprayed them with the power washer, and then I bounced them on the sidewalk so they would kind of dry off, and he dried all the tires off, and I dried all the rims off inside of them.
You guys ever pretty much race off each other's energy? You know, if you're having a good night, does that motivate you? And if she's having a good night, does that motivate you?
Not necessarily. I go out to win and do my best, and I just put all my heart into it.
Now, one thing I'm kind of curious about, and maybe it's because this one's up on the rollers. Is this the same size sprint as this?
No.
So you guys don't actually race against each other on the track?
No, because Trey's car is way faster, and mine's a little slower than
So for a guy like me that goes slow anyways, explain the differences. What's the difference between this car and this car, other than me going, well, that one's bigger?
Well, Ava's motor is different than mine. Mine has a 600cc Yamaha motor in it.
What's yours? It's about that big.
Well, mine goes a little slower than his because even though his is big, I mean, it has a way faster motor in it, and mine has, like, not that fast a motor in it.
Now, I want to shift gears here a little bit. Trey, you go to school in Lincoln. You
Yeah.
go to Pound Junior High?
Sure.
Sure. You don't know where you go to school, you just go to school?
Pound Middle School.
Pound Middle School. There you go. So you do know where you go to school. So in school, do you play sports and stuff like that?
Yeah. We can't really play sports until we're in 7th grade, but before school we have sports that I do.
Now, I was asking a guy here a few weeks back on another interview, when you play sports in school, you always learn a little bit of something with teamwork or a life lesson somewhere in there. I've always been a big fan of kids playing sports. But in the racing, what has the racing taught you over the time?
I think it's taught me a bunch. Like, I think pit crew people and drivers get better communication when they're working on their cars together.
Ava, how about you? Now, first of all, we could do a whole nother show on this young girl right here. You've got a lot going on. You wanna expand on that a little bit?
Sure. My pit crew, I would like to thank my pit crew and my grandma and grandpa and my mom and my dad and all my pit crew, and they do a lot for me, and they change gears to make my car go fast, and they're just really helpful.
Now, you've done some sports in schools also, haven't you?
Well, at recess, there's...
At recess.
Yeah.
Now, what's this I hear? Your dad had slightly mentioned to me in passing, there might be a Florida deal going on with you. Yeah, what's going on with Florida?
So I went to this place to do an interview, and I went and I was trying out for modeling and acting and singing, but they think they chose me the next day. They sent my mom an email on her phone and chose me, and so I went to Omaha, and they told me what we're all going to be doing, and we're going to go to Florida, and I'm going to do this workshop thing, and we're going to do like hair and makeup and all that stuff.
Would you like to do hair and makeup and go to Florida?
No.
You just want to go racing.
Yeah.
That's all you want to do. Now, Ava, a lot of people, well, everybody knows you guys. You guys, raced go-karts for a number of years. You guys were at Mini E out of Eagle Raceway on Friday nights. Huge family name out of Eagle Raceway. One of the legendary names, actually. as far back as I can remember, and I've been doing this for 20-some years. You have many a times always sing the national anthem.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get out in front of 3,000 or 4,000 people and sing the national anthem?
It just, I have to put a lot of heart into it and not be afraid, because if I'm afraid, then I'll know that I'll get scared and I won't do as good. And if I'm not scared, then the singing goes way better.
Trey, what about you? Are we ever going to hear you sing the national anthem? Be on the microphones at Eagle?
No, I don't think so. I'm too scared to do it.
You're too scared to do it.
I'm not scared to race, but I'm too scared to sing.
So we got the Dirt Diva over here, and you're just the Dale Senior.
Hey, Trey.
You're just going out to win races. That's all you care about.
Yep.
So last question: as you guys get older, you're in 6th grade. You're going to be going into 7th. Being 8, you're what?
3rd grade.
3rd, 4th. I'd say 3rd, 4th grade. As you guys start getting near that high school age, are you guys planning on? Well, I can guarantee you, Dad's going to make sure they finish high school. There ain't no ands, ifs, or doubts about that. But have you guys ever talked or thought about or dreamed of college or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm planning to go to college to get a better job.
Well, I want to be a NASCAR driver, but if that doesn't work out, then I want to go to college and be a mechanical engineer.
Sweet. You're already smarter than me. Well, they both got race cars. I tell you what, it's been fun interviewing you guys. What's the best way to keep up with you guys? Follow you. You guys have Facebook?
No.
No.
My dad does.
Oh, well, your dad's always, I know your dad and your mom are always putting stuff on Facebook. So how do people follow what you guys are doing? If you got fans in Atchison, Kansas, I know you do. And I know you've got to be right up there in Atchison, Kansas, finishing 2nd in the race. You know, and you're wide known. How do people, they just come out, watch your race? How do they follow you?
There's quite a bit people up in the stands cheering for me, and
Modesty.
and my mom put some pictures of my cart on Facebook, and I got 100-something likes, and Trey got 100-something likes.
What's the name of the Facebook page?
I don't know.
Anything?
Anything?
Yeah. I don't think we've came up with one yet.
Oh, you're gonna have to get Mom and Dad to do a drop racing.
Yeah.
You got to do something like that.
We're falling behind already, I guess.
Wow. I tell you what, there you go. It's Trey and Ava Gra, 2 of the rising hottest stars in the dirt world. Go out to Atchison County Raceway, go down to Missouri. Follow the 600cc mini sprints. If you Google Ava and Trey Gra, you're not going to have a hard time finding any info on them. You can actually, she's going to kill me, but you can go to Amanda Gropp's Facebook page. You're going to see a proud beaming mama. She's got photos, videos, stuff like that. Go to Facebook page, look her up. She'll have all that stuff on there, and you can see what these kids are doing at any given time. So thanks for being on the show. And one last, I just want to clarify though, before we go, who is the better driver?
Me.
I think I am. I'm pretty sure I am.
I am.
Really? Well, you got a model over here, but you got a feature winner over here. How does that?
Well, the thing how it works out is I'm gonna be famous here in a couple of years or so, and he's gonna be like down in the basement, sitting down there eating chips and getting fat some days.
Wow, she calling you out, big bro. I tell you what, it's been Slingin' Dirt. We'll be right back. Wow,
I got it. It was good.
It was good. I'm kind of. So, how many chips do you eat in the basement?
I actually eat a lot.
Yeah, so do I. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm kind of a chip junkie,
So,
but
when I was asking him about going to college, and Ava, being 8, is saying she wants to go to college so she can have a nice job, she can make better money. And Trey is going, well, I'm just going to go straight into NASCAR. That don't work, I guess, college. So what did you do? Did you go NASCAR, or did you go college, or you just go straight into Coast Guard?
Well, see, I think I drew it up as I want to be a professional athlete. That didn't work out. Then I went, wow, this college thing really isn't for me. Hey, I'm going to do what my dad did. Then I joined the military. So.
You know, when I was asking Ava, well, what made you decide to run modifieds? Typically, you see modified guys jump up to a sprint car. You don't see a lot of sprint car guys going, well, I want to drive modified. When she was like, well, I've seen you race, I was like, wow, you ain't watched much then, have you? Like, you know, you go back to ID this year, and I can't get out of my own way. I can't even finish hot laps. I mean, right now, if I was to finish hot laps at I-80, it'd be like winning a feature out there. But all joking aside, these two kids, I love what their dad's doing. He takes them to the competition. They don't run from the competition. They'll drive 4 or 5 hours to a track that's got a large car count. He firmly believes that's how you get better, is running with the competition.
Yeah.
Now, when you get to be our age, which Ava at 8, she's been racing since 4, so she is an old timer, I guess, already racing half her life.
Yeah.
You know, anyways, at our age, you can go to the smaller tracks and just kind of hang out and have fun. But I love what they're doing. They got a great program.
Yeah, they're being brought up the right way. I mean, these kids, 8-year-old girl is working on her own sprint car.
Yeah,
and knows what she's doing.
Changing gears. I'm 40, and you've already seen in my shop.
Yeah.
I don't turn wrenches on my car.
And it shows on the track.
No, that's all set up on the track, which comes back to me. But you know, Fred's my main guy. But yeah, to see Ava, a little 8-year-old girl, wrenching on her car, and Trey's wrenching on the car, and then they work together. I mean, as they get older, can you only imagine how closer they're going to get on the track and in competition, stuff like that? So kudos to the Gra family.
Yeah,
they're
doing it right.
Yep.
They've got good backing to their program, and you go out and win your first race in a sprint car traded, and just never driven one before, goes out and wins.
Yeah.
You know, that might be some of that God-given talent you're talking about.
There you go.
That neither one of us got.
So I tell you what, we're going to take a break. We're going to go talk to another one of our fine sponsors, and we'll be right back here on Slingin Dirt TV.
Hey, I'm Trey Gra of the 54 car mini sprint. You're watching Slingin Dirt.
Joe's Karting is the Metro's fastest indoor karting facility. Come to Joe's to experience speed, join the competition, and ride the fastest indoor track around. Our professionally designed indoor karting track is perfect for arrive and drive racing, race classes, and racing competitions. We offer affordable pricing options, membership packages, event outings, and so much more. Stop in today to get registered for your next race, and don't forget to like us on Facebook for deals, giveaways, and more. Visit us online at joeskarting.com.
Hey, welcome back to Slingin Dirt. We got a really good tech tip for you this week. We're going to be talking about race receivers and all the things that go along with them that can frustrate you or help you. So, you know.
And it can be either your friend or your enemy.
I mean, most tracks nowadays have gone to the receiver or going to the receiver.
I think it's one of the best things that's happened in racing in the last, 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, it cuts down on people racing back for the cautions, people trying to steal spots, under caution. And because between the transponders and the receivers, pretty much you can't get away with anything trying to sneak positions out.
I've actually had a couple fans ask me, well, how do we know if they're using receivers at this track? When you see the cars go through 1 and 2 in unison, and all of a sudden it's like synchronized driving, and they all stop, and all of a sudden you see a car here, and this car goes here, and this car goes here, but there's nobody on the track. That's your first clue that we've got receivers, because the scoring tower is talking to Jack and I. It's usually, Bud, get off the track, your transmission blew up again. Jack, move 1 spot up.
Yeah, and the thing is these are not difficult to program. They cost about a little over $100, but they are semi-fragile. You can't abuse them. I've went through 2 of them already, and they get expensive. And what happens is, you have these holders. Some people clip them into their suits, or
I actually put mine on my belt right here.
I have mine wire tied to my roll bar with some padding around it so it doesn't get shock vibrated, and then I just take and run the headphones you know, to where it's easy
Yep.
to put once you're strapped in the car and you put them in. Now, I have seen guys that have mounted these right to the side of their helmet.
I've seen that too.
You know, where they can put their earphones on and they just unplug it, put their helmet on, plug it in, and you're gone.
Yep.
And I thought about doing that too because it seemed like it was a lot easier as long as you just shorten the wires up on it. But like you use the earbuds.
Yep, these earbuds here, these are basically for like an Android. Now these are off of an iPhone. The Android earbuds are a lot similar. You just put them into your ears, and then what we do is we take some racing tape or just duct tape, and we just tape them into our ears, and then we put our helmets on. The one thing I don't like about these, they sound good, but you can have your volume turned up a little too high with
Yes, you
these,
can.
and all of a sudden you just hear a bunch of staticky screaming in your, you know, and I got enough voices in my head already. I don't need, you know, another voice screaming at me. So make sure your volume's turned down. But the other thing I noticed with these little white earbuds is that when they're in your helmet after a while, let's say you're on the track for about a half hour, they begin to irritate you a little bit. Now, one of the newest things coming out, well, before I tell you that, show us what you got here.
This is what I use. I use these because they wrap right around your ear. You know, you put it right in your ear, it goes over your ear, you don't have to put duct tape on it. And when you put your helmet on, they don't pull off. You know, so you don't have to do
Now,
tape.
how's the
or
volume with yours on there?
They're fine, they're great. I take mine and set it one setting below wide open, and it takes the static out, but it's still loud enough you can hear it over the engines and everything like that. They are a little loud, you know, during a caution and stuff, but you know, when you're actually running, that's when you want to hear when there's a caution. So I tend to turn mine up a little louder. I mean, we've got several kinds. These kind just hook over your ear. These are the same way. They're the earbud, but plus hook over your ear. I like the fully enclosed ones because then like I say.
Now, where do you get these?
You just got to shop around for them. I mean, if you go to, you know, the phone stores or exercise stores is where I get a lot of this stuff because these are what runners use so they don't fall out of their ears.
I was going to say, because I know you don't exercise.
Only unless it's getting that chip bag again.
That or getting a toddy on a Friday afternoon.
Friday, yeah, that'd be true. You know, so, and I always keep a spare set of earbuds. These things do go bad. The wires catch on metal.
The same thing with these.
It doesn't
these
matter.
will go bad after a while. You get the dust and the dirt and the earwax and all kinds of grody stuff down in there. Now, they do have a thing, I think you go to ruggedradios.com, I'm not for sure, but go to ruggedradios.com, and they actually have an ear pack.
Yeah, the speaker system.
The speaker system that Velcro's on the inside,
right.
And they're really nice, but they're also, if the last time I checked, I think they're like $150 plus.
Right.
Now, a lot of us just try to go the cheap route and just use these. The one thing I will tell you, a couple tips on this is, always, make sure always that you have a new battery in this.
Yeah, what I do is I go to like Sam's Club and I buy one of those gigantic packs of AAA batteries every year.
$30. There's like 30 of them for $5.
I put a Ziploc baggie in my driving bag and I change them every race no matter what because they are cheap, and the last thing you want is to have your radio go dead because they will black flag you and take you off the track. A lot of tracks you go to, the first thing they do during parade laps or coming out on the track is make you give a special signal to one of the flag men or one of the track workers to show that your receiver's working, and if it doesn't work, they boot you back off the track and they don't wait for you. No,
they're not going to wait for you. So the last thing you want to do is be leading a caution. You know, it could be your first career feature win, and your receiver goes dead, and there was a caution, and all of a sudden you got DQ'd. A lot of times, if I start hearing just the slightest bit of static in my earbuds, I'll actually change the battery out from heat race to feature. It's a peace of mind for 50 cents and a peace of mind.
Yeah, and see, I have two receivers. I keep a spare one just in case something's going wrong. I always have one that I know that works, and then I have the one that I use regularly. And
now my crew chief Fred, we've got 3 or 4 of these, and then he's actually got a little blue scanner that actually picks up the track tower also. But when he's wearing these, what he has found, your crew members, it's helpful because if you're out on the track and something's not right, and how many times have you heard Joe Koziski or Roger Hayden or whoever, you got a flat tire, or your sheet metal's crumpled in, and the crew members may not be able to actually see it from that same vantage point as the guy in the scoring tower. So when the guy in the scoring tower tells Jack, hey, you're leaking fluid or there's gas coming out the back end, your crew guys can't see it, but if they wear one of these, they can hear it, so when you come in the pits, they're ready to know what's going on, and that's really saved our butts a lot.
And the other one is probably my favorite thing that these did was it got rid of the illustrious mysterious black flag that was for the guy behind you that you thought was for you, so
Yes.
you pulled off the track. With these, if you found out or watched previous episodes where we had Ask the Flagman segment on, and we had a good interview with Billy, and these get rid of that, because there's nothing more frustrating than you think you're doing really good, you're in the top 10, you're just doing great, and then the black flag comes out, you pull off, and they're like, well, that wasn't for you.
That's for the guy behind you.
Oh, I want
The
to
one thing I do want to touch on with these racetracks, please listen to Jack and I. When you're talking to us drivers on here, we understand and we appreciate what you're doing, but you don't have to scream at us either. Just talk to us, enunciate very clearly, don't scream at us. When you scream at us, a lot of times the earbuds may fade out, they get staticky.
They get staticky is what, if you're talking very loudly. He's not saying scream.
Enunciate very well. Say just what you need to say. You don't need to make a 30-second conversation. I've been to tracks where they're trying to hold a conversation with you, and you're like, shut up.
Yeah.
I'm trying to, and then whatever we're doing, and when we're at speed, don't start screaming at us when we're at full speed going down a straightaway on a half-mile track, because we can't hear. Is there something going on in the corner coming up? Is there something on the front straightaway? We don't know. Make sure you enunciate very, very clearly to us. And then for the love of God, don't use Bluetooth while you're trying to use it, because that will cause static also.
Right.
I was at a racetrack here a couple weeks ago, and somebody was screaming caution. And we're all like, what are we talking about? The flagman didn't do it. The track owner didn't do it. Come to find out, another race team was on a two-way that was somehow tied into that frequency, screaming caution, and the sprint cars were just stop, go, stop, go, stop, go. One car got, he didn't get destroyed, but he got some pretty heavy damage because he stopped. Because he heard,
for that kind
you
of
know,
stuff.
So teams out there in IMCA, NASCAR, in the dirt track world at our level, I'm not for sure about like Lucas Oil late model series or USMTS, but I know in the IMCA NASCAR weekly racing series level, you're not allowed to use two-way radios. You can get DQ'd, and they told that person, shut up, you're going to get DQ'd if we find out who you are and banned from the track.
Oh yeah,
And then
there would be no second chance. You would be gone if I'm the track promoter.
Yeah. So make sure you take, this is one of your most valuable pieces of equipment. You might pay $5,000 for a crate engine. You might pay $1,000 for a Burt Barin. But this $100 little piece of equipment right here, this little yellow box, is your friend if you take good care of it and you treat it well.
Right.
Seeing how we're talking about safety, let's mention Alyssa Steele.
Yeah.
This is a very sad...
For those of you that don't know, Sport Compact driver Alyssa Steele from down in Keokuk area was severely hurt test driving her car without her safety gear on, and by God, we've all done it. And
Yeah, we're not gonna.
This isn't a negative thing.
No.
This is a learned from other people's actions, and it made me rethink, because what's the first thing we do when we scale my car and take it out? What do?
We go right out into the back 40, and we've got no belts on, no fire equipment,
no helmet, no nothing.
And we're just cutting cookies, and we're watching the suspension work and stuff like that. But all you need is one little
throttle sticks.
You got a fuel drip, you got a fire,
yeah.
Something like that.
I mean, it just reinforces that we need to pay attention to what we're doing.
Yes.
And your crew needs to pay attention. We always talk about crew watching out for each other.
Absolutely.
But when we do it, it's like, well, let's go see. There's no excuse for it. At least put your helmet and your belts on.
Yeah, we wish Elisa, I hope I pronounced, or Alyssa or Elisa. I've seen it spelled, pronounced both ways. We hope Miss Steele has a fast recovery. We hope to see her back, on the track
and get well.
If anything, out of the whole experience that she's gone through, it's to enlighten and once again reinforce the basics of safety. Red Munson and Bill Layton were on the track at Harlan here a couple weeks ago, and something came through the window net. Bill Layton, I don't know if you heard about him. I want to send, get well. We hope to see you back on the track. In fact, we know we'll see you back on the track. Red Munson and Bill Layton are on the track at Harlan, Shelby County Speedway. Something came through the windshield and literally destroyed the front of the helmet, went through the helmet, and Bill Layton...
I have not heard about that one.
And Bill Layton had to have surgery. It messed up the front of his face pretty bad.
And it's funny you're talking about that, because this last week that we raced at I-80, I have forgotten to put my rock guard on my window bars, and I had a rock hit me in the finger, and it split me open and it was like somebody shocked me. And at that split moment when that happened, I was trying to decide whether I'm going to go low or high because I have this guy in front of me I'm going to try to pass. And that rock hit me, and what I did is I ended up taking just the middle, which was dry, slick, and I about took out half the field because I shot right up through them, the guys who were up on the high side. And just something as simple as a damn rock guard, you know, a piece of screen to stop a rock. You know?
I know a lot of guys don't like the rock guard or the screens. I will never race without one. You know, you can sit there as you're going down the straightaway. If you're on a half-mile track, you're going down the straightaway. A lot of times you can just take your hand and hit the screen, and it'll knock some of the mud off.
And that's I mean, second week of racing, and it dawned on me that it was missing.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know when we took it off or whatever, but it's going back on before next.
Going back on. So Bill Layton, Miss Steele, we hope you guys fast and speedy recoveries from Slingin Dirt TV here. Red Munson, I know you're healing up pretty good. So tell you what, without further ado, we'll be right back. We're going to go talk to another one of our sponsors. Welcome back to Slingin Dirt TV. You know, a lot of times we don't even know what we're going to say, and it's that time of the week again. It's time for Songer Says, and God only knows what he's going to talk about. So without further ado, I'll tell you what, your Songer Says.
Warning, the related content may be disturbing to some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Alright, so we've kind of touched on this before, but we had a lady, I don't know, you call her a viewer, I guess, who's brought this up. So if a viewer who just attends races notices this, imagine what it does to us who actually race. The big complaint is tracks that make us pack their track. I mean, are you kidding me? I pay money to come race at your track. I expect a track surface that I can race on. So, I mean, let's put this in perspective. I'm a guy who lays sod. I lay sod. But unfortunately, I have to own a $75,000 skid loader so I can lay that sod. Kind of frustrating, wouldn't you think? Yeah, but it's part of it. I can't go over the loudspeaker and say, "Dear home builders, please bring your own skid loader to grade the yard or we will not be sodding today. You've got 5 minutes or we'll sod on what's there." That's what you track promoters do when you make us pack your track. I don't like spending 75 grand on a skid so I can grade, but it's part of what I gotta do to make money. Part of what you gotta do to make money as a track prep guy or a freaking promoter is prep the track. You know, it's kind of like grading. I call it finish grading because a damn thing is finished when I leave. Not after, not before, not I gotta come back 4 more times, or not I gotta hire the people that I work for, or not hire, tell the people that I work for that they gotta do it. No. So as a guy who spends a lot of money on race cars, I don't think it's my job to go out and get 4,000 pounds of mud on my car so I can scrape the son of a buck, and obviously I'm not in the greatest of shape, huff and puff, almost have a heart attack, all because some guy doesn't want to spend 900 or 10,000 or 15,000 or 5,000. I don't know what a track packer costs. Here's an idea. Why don't you go to the local high school? You got all these kids that would love to have anything to do with a racetrack. Put out a little ad that says free admission to the racetrack if you bring your 4-wheel drive truck and pack in the track. Holy shit, can you imagine how many trucks you'd have out there? 15 and 16-year-old, 17-year-old kids get in the mud. Oh my God, they go break the law to do that, let alone get a free pass in. Good thing Songer's got all the brains in this operation, because some of you track promoters ain't got a single ounce of brains.
Tell you what, Jamie Songer, it's wow.
It must be tough to have that many voices in your head all the time.
I'm telling you. Tell you what though, Songer says, I did, well, not the Songer says, but with Jamie Songer, I do want to touch on this. If you go to our Facebook page, Jamie Songer with Supreme Lawn and Landscaping is sponsoring the Victory Lane Dance-Off.
Oh yeah.
Now some people are like, well, it's not from Victory Lane. Well, the first week that we had the 4 videos, it was at an Speedway, and you heard them, you know, the rain's coming, guys.
Right.
They didn't do a Victory Lane deal, so I went over to their trailers. And a lot of times for Jack and I, it's not going to be real easy for us to, you know, if we're sitting in the car and you're the race in front of us, there's no way that they're going to slow down the show so we can go do your Victory Lane dance. So, you know, I don't have a problem going to the trailer and getting your Victory Lane dance. Teams are willing to do it, but right now there's 9 teams out there. When you're in Victory Lane, this is all you got to do. When you're in Victory Lane, have one of your crew members shoot a short video. Come see me after the races. We'll put that up on Facebook TV. Have them try to do the dance in Victory Lane if all possible. We'll put it on the Slingin Dirt Facebook. And then go to the Facebook. For every 1 like that they have on our Facebook page, we get 1 point. For every share they have from our Facebook, they will get 5 points. This will run all the way through August 1st. After August 1st, Jack, Jamie, and I, almost sounds like 3 wives, Jack, Jamie, and I, we'll actually go through all the videos, and I'm trying my best, if you watch the Facebook page, I try my best to keep up on the points. Whoever has the most points is going to win $500 from Jamie Song with Supreme Lawn and Landscaping.
Right, and you don't have to be at our track.
No,
it's
anywhere.
Anywhere.
It could be Shinsenko Speedway in Japan. It could be in Nunavut, Alaska. We don't care.
We will check the results. So
Yeah, we will check the results. That way people can't say that they won. Anyways, pay attention to the Victory Lane dance-off. It's funny. We got 9 people out there. We got a long ways to go. And I want to see what somebody like Todd Queen is going to do. I want to see something like Jimmy Gustin. What is Jimmy Gustin going to do? Is Jesse Sopping going to do a dance?
Yeah.
Dylan Smith, Chris
Mike
Abelson,
Boston, you know,
Mike Boston.
Dover.
Oh, can you imagine? I mean,
the Scarecrow from Wizard of Oz in his sprint car.
Yeah. So, anyways, let's move on. It's also that time for Fan of the Week. Here's the Fan of the Week this week with a really good question. Now, we don't know a lot of late models. It's Jeff Benson out of Elkhorn, Nebraska. Favorite track is I-80 Speedway. His question is, how does a racetrack around here stimulate more interest in a person to race the late models? And he goes out to talk about the MLRA. Because in the day at Sunset, on an average, there was 40 to 50 late models racing on any given week. Or are there just too many different classes of cars so it keeps the numbers low? The late models have always been my favorite cars to watch. At I-80, there are always 20 or less every week that show up. Jeff, that is a really, really good question. And I actually talked to Hall of Famer Joe Koziski and, of course, his dad, Bob Koziski, who won everything there is to win out at Sunset. And it was probably a 2-hour conversation. And the number one thing that it came down to, and we've talked about it, Jack, here on the show, is cost.
Cost is the biggest thing.
Cost is the biggest thing. Also, back in the 80s, and back in the mid and late 80s, when there was those 40 to 50 cars, we didn't have the amount of stuff buying for our entertainment dollar now.
Yeah,
if you think about it.
That's true. I mean, going to the races was a big deal back then. Now you've got all kinds of stuff going on around you that for entertainment purposes. I mean, cost is always a big thing.
Yep.
I do think that the multiple classes, which we alluded
Which
to on previous show, addressed that.
Too many classes. You got a population base of 1,000 people, and you're trying to get 125 cars in the pits. You can't keep going after that same pool, that same small pool of people in the population base and trying to create more car count. When you might get more car count, but all of a sudden in the stands, you have less people in the stands.
Right, and the thing is too is we talked about our late models, a dying breed, or they. I mean, around here, there's not that many places that run.
I think by class, I think you see geographically it thrives in others and it's faltering, and it thrives in certain spots and it falters in other spots. You go down to Kentucky, Arkansas, Tennessee, stuff like that. You don't see a lot of mods. Mm-hmm. You come up in Iowa, Nebraska, that's all you see are mods. I mean, anymore it's like, you're a mod driver, whoop-de-ding-dong, there's 500,000 of you out there. But all of a sudden you go really, what track? Because there's so few of them. You know, the only tracks I know, you've got Shelby County, I-80, McCool, Adams County, and I think there's a couple tracks up in northern Nebraska. But then you got several race packages, you know, rules packages within those late models. And I think that so we already have too many classes, but then when you take one class and you make
split 3 classes out of that.
You make 5 different rules packages for one class car, you know, I think that brings the numbers down also. Yeah. And then the payouts, let's look at the payouts. And we're not knocking the tracks or sanctioning bodies, but the payouts haven't gone up. You know, back in the 80s, parts were a lot cheaper. The payouts were what they were. Now the payouts are the same as what they were a lot of times in the mid and late 80s, but the cost of the racing, you know, the parts has gone up.
Well, even just the entry fees to get into the track has gone up compared to what the purses are for winning, you know?
Yeah, you know, and some people are like, well, you know, you could bring, this was an interesting thing I saw a year or two. Some people, a year or two ago, some people are like, well, you know, if you increase the purse, the cars will come. There was a track in northern Iowa that was paying $1,200 a week for an IMCA weekly show for a modified. Guess how many modifieds they had show? 15.
Yeah.
You go to Eagle Raceway, they pay, I think, $400 to win, and they get 35, 40 of them.
Right.
You know, so that's not always the case either.
No, that's true.
And then people are like, well, they got all these cars out there, you know, of course they can afford to pay through the wazoo for entry or for the purse money. Well, great, you gotta remember that track's got employee wages, that track's got insurance, that track's probably got a bank note because a lot of tracks are leasing or they're paying rent to the fair board or something like that.
Right.
So there's costs. It's not like somebody just said, oh, hey, Mr. Rawl, here's a track. Why don't you just go have it? Good luck and try to make some money. I mean, there's cost involved with that.
Yeah. Being a business owner, yes, there's a lot of hidden costs that people don't ever see. And, you know, we don't do it because we make money out of it either. You know?
No.
I mean, so,
but back to Jeff's question, how do you draw interest into the late models? First of all, that's a good question. If somebody, Bob Kaczynski actually asked me, goes, if somebody knew the exact answer to that, they'd have a track full of cars.
Sure.
You know, the Kaczynskis, Hall of Fame late model drivers, Joe, Steve, Ed, Bob, the whole family. You got Andrew in there, you got Courtney in there, Robbie's in there. I mean, it's like the Brady bunch of racing around here. The Kaczynski family, great family. But if they're having trouble trying to draw up interest for the late models, I don't know who could. I mean, they know everything there is to know about late models. If you want to know something about a late model, you go talk to a Kaczynski or maybe even a Zeitner family. But you know, they're clueless right now. They've tried everything out there. Joe's doing that bragging rights championship. I think that's a step in the right direction.
Sure.
It gives you the flexibility to race when you want, how you want, when you want. He's got the SLMR series. He's trying to draw interest into that. But I think the number one thing killing late models in some ways is just purely the cost.
Yeah, I mean,
when I grew up, that's all I thought modifieds were the ugliest damn thing out there. Holy Jesus.
now you are one.
Well, yeah, now I are one. Well, the late models, I always wanted to drive a late model. I grew up watching Tom Svoboda and Steve Kaczynski and Joe Kaczynski and John Kinney Jr. These guys were guys, and we've talked about that in other shows. But then when you go out there and you're finding out shocks are, you know, $500, $600, $700 a piece, I'm like,
oh God, yeah.
Yeah, and, you know, and I'm like, good God, on my sport mod, I'm doing good if I can afford $100 shocks, and these guys are wearing $500 piece shocks? No way. You know, back in the day,
unless you're independently wealthy, you can't run a late model.
I mean, you can run a late model, but you're going to be a backyard marker. You're going to be a field filler, you know, which is what I am right now in my B mod, but that's, you know, a different subject. So, you know, Jeff, that's a really good question. How do you create interest? You know, for you fans out there, for you drivers, you track promoters, let's hear your thoughts. Tell us what you think. What can you do to draw interest into the late models? It seems like the hobby stocks, street stocks, modifieds, your IMC classes are going really good. And even the IMC late models, you don't see a lot of them, but in the region, in the Midwest region, where we have all these racetracks, what can we do to bring more attention to the late model racing? Tell us your thoughts. So, tell you what, this has been another week of Slingin. Slingin Dirt. Next week we'll be back. I'm sure I'll be slinging BS with Jack. He'll be slinging dirt and kicking my ass on the racetrack. So without further ado, and I tell you what, we'll be right back on Slingin Dirt next week.